Bucky Barnes. Hey guys, David here. I'm back with another review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. This time it is for episode 12 of season 1 entitled Seeds. And of course, spoilers for the episode are going to follow in this video. And basically, this was a rather step up from last week's episode. Basically, we're back to the whole case of the week kind of deal with reoccurring subplots happening from previous episodes, but now it looks like they're gonna try to keep a level of consistency when it comes to some of these bigger secrets that are happening in the background, especially some rather huge ones that they drop in this episode. But the main plot of the episode is that somebody is trying to cryogenically freeze some students at the infamous academy where Fitz and Simmons come from. And basically, when these guys arrive on the scene, they are the popular kids. So it was nice to kind of see Simmons and Fitz be the cool kids as opposed to Ward, who's always getting some beef of being operations. And everyone's like, oh, it's the guy from operations. Oh, he doesn't have an IQ higher than 100 and... well, just 100. But what I like the most about this setup is the fact that Skye, Ward, Fitz, and Simmons were kind of in charge of each other. They didn't have Coulson or May over their shoulders. It was just them saying, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it our way. And the way they work together with Ward still being a little by the book, but he's just way more likable now than he was at the beginning of the season. I mean, I really like Ward at this point, and I was okay with Skye and Fitz and Simmons. Like I said, I really enjoyed how they were the top men on campus, or men and women on campus, as opposed to Ward, who's always proficient in his field. And I really enjoyed their chemistry with one another when it came to solving this mystery as to who is trying to target these kids. What I didn't like was this plan by these two kids to lure the S.H.I.E.L.D. team into the campus so that Fitz and or Simmons could fix their device that they're going to sell to Quinn, who's a returning character from episode 3, I believe. The guy that Skye was trying to seduce in order to giving away secrets and whatnot, I can't remember. But he returns in this episode, and all he does is go places in vehicles. That's all he really does in this episode. So he's used as little as possible, and that's the best way that he worked. But what I didn't like was the fact that this plan didn't need to happen. Like, there was like, it just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, wow, you're gonna put yourselves at risk to lure these guys into fixing your machine. It just felt like a huge shot in the dark. I mean, what if they really... things could have gone so easily wrong, and the fact that it all came together in the end, like when Seth is talking to, I think his name was Danny, saying, hey, look, our plan worked. Yeah, because this is a TV show. Although I will give credit to those two characters and the actors that played them. I don't know what it was, but even though they were kind of sort of the antagonists of this main episode, even though Quinn is the main bad guy behind the scenes of this whole thing, I did like those two characters for some reason. Even though, like I said, they were the antagonists, I dug them, and they were likable for some reason. And maybe it was just the performances by these two young actors, especially the guy who played Danny, the secluded, isolated character that didn't want to talk to anybody. I really liked them. But while all this is going on, May and Coulson decide to take initiative because Coulson finally says the thing that was almost on everybody's mind that has been watching this show up until this point, including me. We are tired of secrets. It's time to let some of these things just out. And Coulson flat out said that, which led to what, in my opinion, has got to be one of the most comedic moments in the show so far, is May's impromptu confession that I really liked. I loved how well that was edited. But their investigation in Mexico City led to one of the most stunning revelations that I did not see this show bringing up, and that is the fact that Skye not only was the person that dropped her off at the orphanage, not her mom, but that agent died to protect her, and the agent that was partnered with her disappeared because he didn't want to suffer the same fate. And that's because Skye has a power, some sort of power. She was this mysterious artifact, similar to the 084 in the episode, in the second episode, I believe, of the season, entitled 084. And the 084 is a title designated to a certain object, or even a certain person in this case, that has some sort of power that only S.H.I.E.L.D. is specialized in. And to reveal that Skye is actually an 084, I did not see that coming, and I genuinely thought that that was a very inventive surprise, an innovative surprise for the series to unleash even in its first season. And then things start to get a little epic for S.H.I.E.L.D. You got this somewhat of a hurricane type of superstorm going on that the kids unleashed because of this device. You got Ward trapped inside with everything rattling around. Fitz and Simmons are looking at the storm unleashing all over the place through the screen. Sky is just getting crushed by all the secrets that Coulson is just laying out all over the place, and it just had a really authentic and epic feel to this episode. It was just something that I haven't seen on S.H.I.E.L.D. thus far, and I thought that would have been an amazing cliffhanger to end the episode on. I'm like, if this ends right now, this will probably be one of my favorites, if not possibly my favorite season. I mean, my favorite episode of the season, because if it is cut right there, I genuinely was at the edge of my seat. But not like with other shows, because that's the thing. Some people in the comments have been kind of iffy when it comes to my opinions about these shows. I'm not feeling at the edge of my seat like I did with Breaking Bad or Walking Dead. No, this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know that it's S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a Marvel show. But in that context, I was at the edge of my seat because I was like, wow, this is something that I have not been expecting out of S.H.I.E.L.D. And to have it in this episode, I was actually pleasantly surprised. And when all these things are being edited together to give it that epic feel, I was like, right on. And I would definitely love it if it ended right here, because this is the way you make a great cliffhanger. But no. The episode continues, and it's kind of happy-go-lucky, except that I didn't appreciate one thing, and it's actually probably my biggest complaint about the episode. And this complaint of mine made me feel for the people that were uncomfortable by the end of Man of Steel. If you guys have seen Man of Steel, and you guys have heard some of the controversy behind that ending, not regarding Zod, but regarding Metropolis, you guys know what I'm talking about. And basically, Seth, one of the main antagonists that, like I said, they were kind of likable, and they were kids, dies. Now, is there the possibility that he might come back? I mean, it is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they brought Coulson back, so who knows? But so far, as far as we know, by the end of this episode, Seth dies. And I'm like, wow, you know, he was a kid. You know, he looked like at least 20, and he died. What does the episode do? Oh, it just moves on. Didn't like that whatsoever. It kind of glosses over that death because, I mean, he died, and he's a kid, and they just say, hey, are you going to be alright? He's like, no, but just don't say anything. You know, I mean, I know he didn't really say it that way, but I would have loved it for them to have spent some time focusing on the gravity of the situation, having this kid die on their ship, or on their plane, whatever. Which led to what could be something kind of interesting, but at the same time, we have yet to see other villains that the show has created so far in the season. But we get another origin story for a potential super villain that is able to control ice because of the machine. How did that happen? Hopefully we'll get some sort of explanation later on in the future, and hopefully we get to see why this guy wants to all of a sudden become a villain, even though it wasn't so much all of a sudden, because he was reclusive, he was isolated, which is definitely one of the common characteristics when it comes to a supervillain origin. But what I was talking about before is that we have yet to see, what was his name, Graviton, the guy with, you know, all the gravity of the black hole that got sucked into there, and then his hand comes out at the end. We have yet to see some of these other villains that the show has set up, including the Clairvoyant, which gets referenced at the end of this episode, which I thought was a pretty interesting touch. And personally, I find it a little hard to believe that Sky, out of all people, Sky was the one that was saying all that emotional stuff that Coulson was saying. Yeah, this is the same girl that cracks jokes every chance she gets. So I feel like maybe if Coulson would have told May what Sky said, but in a more Sky-like form of dialogue rather than the emotional depth that he went to, it's all like Shakespearean kind of thing in a S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. It felt very Shakespearean in comparison. So I kind of wish that they would have written that little monologue that Coulson was giving about what Sky said in a form that would have suited Sky's character, as opposed to someone who's like, I gotta move on. I got to. And ABC, if you guys are going to be doing something rather epic for an episode, be sure to have the budget first, because there were certain scenes where you can clearly tell that they're in front of a green screen, and it I gotta admit, it looks rather obvious that it kind of took me out of the scenes a little bit, especially when Ward opens a door and you see the superstorm, but you got all this wind blowing, but for some reason the wind is not blowing on him. But overall, this might just be one of my favorite episodes of the season thus far, and a huge step up over last week. I give Seeds an 8 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to check out my channel for more videos, including more reviews of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And be sure to tune in next week where I'll be reviewing episode 13. Assuming there's going to be another episode. I've got to check Wikipedia. Let's hope so. But until then, take care guys. I'll see you later.